Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for being here. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Angela Peterson, and I am a psychic medium as well as a shamanic practitioner. I work based out of Sedona, Arizona. I do a lot of in-person readings and healings with clients. I also do long-distance readings and healings over Zoom. And the reason that I am here today is because I have set myself a challenge. Now, I do really well most of the time when I'm talking with people one-on-one, in person. I can talk to probably almost anybody, but also I can teach. I can stand up and teach in groups of people, and I'm okay. But once a camera gets put into my face, I get really nervous. And so this is something that I would like to change about myself. I want to start getting more comfortable talking to myself in the camera so that I can give you all some more free content. I want to start by doing energy forecasts for the month ahead. And I'm going to start that with January 2024. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. This is a little bit spontaneous, but I'm sure it will evolve over time, and, I'll get more into the groove of things. But we are going to start with January, and so my goal is just to give you some, overall insight into the overall energies of the month ahead, just to kind of give you a heads up and, sometimes it can feel very validating, getting some confirmation of what you're experiencing or what you're going through. So that's the goal, and I think we should get started. Okay, so one thing I do want to mention before I start with the energy forecast for January, I do want to talk about the overall energy that I'm feeling for the year ahead. So for 2024. 2024, it feels a little bit volatile for some people. So there is this feeling of anything that you haven't previously looked at, right? So anything that is in your shadow that you haven't dealt with, if you have avoided making choices or changes in your life where you know that you've needed to, I do feel like some foundations will be crumbling. I feel like the overall theme, could potentially be about foundation and whether or not you actually have a strong foundation. If you don't have a strong foundation, you'll probably find out very quickly, because I do feel that it will be crumbling in one way or another. There may be a lot of relationships coming to an end, but there also may be a lot of relationships in beginning stages as well. So this is going to be depending on where people are at in their lives. Some people have really done a lot of work in previous years, and a lot of those people are probably the ones actually that are probably going to be drawn to my video. The people who have really done a lot of their healing work. Now, I'm not saying all of us are going to escape volatility. We'll probably all be affected to a certain degree. But I do feel that the ones who have really, laid a stronger foundation, where they've actually broken down pillars of foundation that were not serving them, that were not strong, that weren't true to who they are, all of you will probably be experiencing a lot of new beginnings this year. So wherever you've laid the best foundations in your life, you'll probably be experiencing a lot of growth in those areas. But don't be surprised if some things do come to an abrupt ending. Now, that being said, as I move into the energy of January, I picked some oracle cards for the month of January, and the koala spirit has shown up in the animal oracle deck. Let's see if you can all see that. Now, for this one, the koala spirit is really about slowing down and maybe even resting more so, So it also talks about trusting, being more trusting, that, well, spirit has a plan, right? Like I said on the card, the spirit has a plan. But I'm getting so much anxious energy that I'm picking up a lot of anxiety from the collective. I do feel a mixture of, it's like anxiety, there is some anger that I'm sensing as well. So it's like, it might even be that a lot of people are feeling really fed up and sick and tired of the way things have been and how life just keeps, you know, throwing another hurdle, another curveball, so many things, but also like feeling like you're always losing, you know, that there's no such thing as a win scenario in your life. So, in that feeling, that can be where, you know, all the volatility comes from, and even the anger, the frustration, feeling helpless, feeling powerless. You know, in the work that I do with people, when we have feelings like that come up, you actually need to dive deeply into them and move out the other side of them. For the month of January, the main focus is to really slow down. Because I mean, we're in a rat race. That's kind of the society, the culture that we live in. And we also feel like there is just one thing after another that we have to be doing. Always going, always doing. You know, it's very overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming, and I do feel a sense of pressure that people are feeling right now to get things done, or to get to a certain place, or to it just feels like a real anxious energy and trying to force things. And actually, you know, Spirit's message is that you actually need to pull your energy back in, because you're getting too far ahead of yourselves. Now, when you get, you know, because if you get too far out here, then you're not present. You're not here where you need to be, feeling what you're experiencing. Now, also, you know, projecting out into the future and not being present in your body here, like we can do that at times, you know, to get certain information, things that we need. But if we're doing that too much and we're too far ahead of ourselves, then we actually leave ourselves vulnerable. We also create the feeling of anxiety. Anxiety is, it's about not trusting. It's also about being like getting too far ahead of yourself. You're in the future instead of in the present moment, because there is no foundation in the future. The future technically doesn't exist, especially not in the same way that the present does. So when you're in the future, you don't have a foundation. And again, there's another theme, right? So foundation is really important, but in order to really have the clarity of what you need in your foundation, you're going to need to slow down. You're going to need to reflect, right? And we are technically still in the winter months, at least here in the States. And winter solstice is a time of reflection. It's a time of rest also. So January may be a month where people actually need more rest, especially, yeah, again, with the koala spirit. You know, koalas sleep. Gosh, they sleep so many hours in a day. I don't know how many, like 16 maybe. I don't know. It's kind of like a cat, I think. But anyway, so much sleep. And I know for me, I've been needing a lot of rest and a lot of replenishment. So I do think that that's going to be really important. I also think that there will be themes. So, you know, I did get the volcano card right, by the way. So volatility, excuse me. So volatility is definitely something to be mindful of. You know, when we repress emotion, if we're repressing things, or if we're feeling overwhelmed, we're not listening to ourselves or paying attention to what we need, we can then explode. So be very mindful of that you're not overworking yourself, stimulating yourself, pushing yourself too hard. All of that stuff needs to kind of be pulled back in for this month, because that's going to give you so much clarity about the direction that you need to head. And we got this Feast of Plenty card, which very much reminds me of the Two of Swords in the tarot deck. Two of Swords is about choices, and every single choice that we make has a consequence, right? So if we're not making choices from the clarity of our heart space, where our heart is in the lead and our mind is like the secretary, essentially, that makes everything that the heart desires happen. If we're not moving from the clarity of the heart, then we get very clouded and we will potentially make choices that can in the long run be detrimental. So I'm getting the feeling that this month is actually very, very important when it comes to choices, especially too because I'm feeling a lot of the anxiety in my throat chakra. So there's a very high concentrated energy in the throat. So the choices that we make can either set us up for the rest of the year in very positive ways, or it can set us up for very negative ways. So it's a very heavy energy that I'm feeling, actually. It's a very intense, be aware of the choices that you're making kind of energy. If you are choosing to stay stuck, right? So say if you're making choices out of fear. When we make choices out of fear, we pretty much almost always are not going to like the results of those choices. Because when we make choices out of fear, that means that we're usually making a choice to repeat a pattern or a cycle in our lives that is not actually serving us. And so the moment we're able to call on our courage and make a different choice that takes us in the direction of where we really want to go, even if it feels like a big leap of faith, or, you know, I mean, there's fear in that too, but you have to pay attention, discern between the differences, you know, the fear that says not to stay and to go, or the fear that says, you know, to stay and not to go. Like, it's, pay attention and listen to that. Sorry, I'm just getting, one of my guides is talking to me, so I just have to listen for a second here. There are a lot of you who are really wanting to step into new beginnings. Yes, so again, they're saying that there is a lot of fear around new beginnings, and most of that fear around the new beginning, around what you actually want, they're saying is a bit more unfounded than the fear of staying where you are. Like, staying where you are is actually worse. So just let this month be a clarity, coming back into yourself, getting clear about what you really want and how you want to move forward. And then I feel like that energy, that momentum of new beginnings can really blossom closer to the springtime. So I'm kind of getting maybe somewhat in February, maybe even some in the beginning of February, but definitely into March. Then I'm getting a lot more of this growth energy and new beginning opportunities coming into our lives. But you have to have the clarity. So you've got to clear out the clutter and clear out and sit in reflection and listen to your hearts. Really listen to your hearts and trust that, you know, I mean, nothing's going anywhere. Nothing's, try to slow down and listen, because there is such an energy of just trying to control everything. And it feels like it's coming from a place of real powerlessness. So, you know, in powerlessness, usually the best thing to do is to move into the powerlessness, follow it back to when was the very first time I felt this way, because there's always going to be an origin of that. And it's usually in childhood, because when do you feel the most powerless? Then when you are a child, when other people are usually making choices for you. And there are a lot of children who don't get a lot of say. But it's really rooted in that, and we're seeing a lot of what a lot of what is happening in the world today is actually a direct result of powerlessness. People feeling like they don't have control of their lives. But the best way to navigate that energy too, again, is you must be present. You must be right here with yourself in your heart, listening, moment to moment, what choices to make. The more you make your choices out of alignment with your heart, with your spirit, with your truth, the more easeful and graceful your path will be moving through any challenges that do arise. So there are a lot of new beginnings, and I do think that some of those new beginnings are going to be happening in January for some people, but it's also going to be like on the tail ends of really coming into yourself and reflecting. There may be a little bit of a hermit energy around some people, but rest is very important. And I mean, get ready. And that's natural for, the winter months to be resting. It's, if we were actually living in alignment with the seasons, winter would be the time of rest, just like the bear, and hibernating, and also a time of reflection. So, in our rest state or our sleep state, we are communing with spirit, or communing with our own spirits. And so we're getting information, we're getting downloads. And that's really what needs to be happening in January, is that you slow down enough that you can hear, that you can listen and get those downloads, get information to help you prepare in moving forward. So for those of you who are struggling with anxiety, I want you to know that, anxiety really comes from a lack of self-trust. And the reason that people don't trust themselves is because they are not making choices that are in alignment for their highest good. So basically, you're not giving yourself the message that you have your back. So if you're not giving yourself the message you have your back, then you're not going to feel safe with you. And, anxiety is like, I don't feel safe, and I don't trust. It can also be an energy of like, I'm too far into the future. If I'm too far into the future, then there's no foundation there, right? You can't live in the future. You must live in the present. The future doesn't really truly exist. The present is where there is foundation. And every single thing that you do and every choice you make in the present is what creates the future anyway. So if you're trying to project into the future, but you're not staying in the present, you're not actually listening and making the choices and the changes that you need to make here and now, to get the results in the future that you're looking for. So come back to yourself, come back into your body, come back into your heart space, and really just listen. Like, make that one of your priorities. It could be meditating if you meditate, but it's really just about, more than anything, it's about coming into presence with yourself and feeling your emotions. If you need to journal, then journal your emotions. I do a lot of freestyle, I just write whatever is coming to me, whatever I'm thinking, whatever I'm feeling, and it eventually leads me somewhere within myself that I really needed to go. So that's a very beneficial. Spending time in nature. Okay, so please, people, spend time in nature. Most of you may already know that, but nature is the greatest healer. This is why I work with plant spirits and animal spirits, and because they're some of the greatest healers that we have. And so just going outside, being in the presence of a tree, can ground anxiety, can actually bring you all the way back into your body and into the present moment, which really is critical. It's critical, okay, for this month. Now, okay, let me see if there's anything else that I need to share. I don't know if I finished my thought on anxiety, but the way to dissipate anxiety is to give yourself the message that you have your back, right? So first and foremost, it's listening to yourself. So if I'm listening to myself, if I'm tuned in with my emotion, I'm acknowledging my emotion, then I'm giving myself the message that I care about myself. Now, then if I get a truth that says, okay, this is the choice I need to make, or this is what I need to do differently, this is my boundary. and I am honoring that choice, that boundary, then I'm again giving myself the message that I care about me, that I have my back. So if I have my back, that means that I'm safe with me, and I'm the most important person to be safe with. So listening to yourself first and foremost is probably the most important thing. And then taking action on and moving toward the things that your heart is guiding you to, even if it's scary. And it's always scary, but there's a difference between the fear that says I shouldn't and the fear that says I should. So listen to that difference, like learn how to discern the difference. Because, you know, sometimes there's fear that says, oh my gosh, if I make this choice, then my life is going to change so much, right? But it's going to change for the better. But because I don't fully know exactly what it looks like, right, and the ego and the mind wants to control everything, then, well, don't let that happen. Don't let that get in the way. But it's a leap of faith. You know, you got to take it. Take a leap of faith. I've taken a lot of leaps of faith, and sometimes I haven't too, but they do tend to really work out, and they have, you know, gotten me to where I am in my life today, and I am so grateful that I did it. So when you take a leap of faith, you know, the universe does this, like, I'm going to catch you, right? But it might be that they just show you the next step, and then you take another leap, and then it's the next step right there. So it's like, it's being able to trust that you're going to be caught, that the universe will catch you, that spirit will catch you, that something will catch you. And the heart does know, you know, what direction to go, even if the mind can't figure it out. So listen here, because it also will tune you into the courage of the heart, which is really what people need right now. We need heart courage more than anything. So if you make choices that are in alignment with your heart's desire, and you use your courage and your bravery to step into those things, then you will be very blessed. I'm seeing a lot of new beginnings happening, seeds planted that will be sprouting because now you're taking action toward them. But if you continue to make choices that are not in alignment or not toward what you really want, if you stay stuck out of fear, the universe may force change upon you, and it may not be in the way that you would have chosen it to be. So be very mindful of that. Be very mindful of that energy, and pay attention. Pay attention to the choices that you're making, whether they're conscious or they're not. And literally every choice has a ripple effect into the next. It doesn't matter if it's even like eating an apple or an orange, right? It still has a ripple effect. So January is a month to become aware of the ripple effect of the choices that we make, to become aware of, you know, where we have been making choices that have been creating more stress, more trauma, more anxiety in our lives, and what choices can we make to mitigate that, or to even erase, you know, those feelings. So making choices that differ and that are more of benefit to us. And then getting lots of rest too, right? So anyway, I do hope that this has been helpful, and thank you for tuning in. This is kind of a long video, but it is what it is, and I look forward to doing the next one. This was actually very fun, so thank you for joining me. Take care.